Is it the same one that she's painting at?
Yeah, I just can't.
All right, so I'm just gonna pass out some marketing materials. Let's see you guys the marketing spiel. Because this is mostly an informative presentation. And what I will say is that we are committed to being, did I get everybody?
Thanks, Terry.
We're committed to being a part of the real estate community, and supporting you guys and offering these trainings is one way that we can do that, so that you can stay more informed and help your buyers in the home inspection process. And so this presentation, it's a short presentation. It's just some little snippets of a bigger presentation that we have for new agents that will hopefully be approved for CE credit soon. I didn't want to make the whole presentation about radon, but most of it ended up being about radon. When you talk about common issues with home inspections in Utah, radon is one of the things that is probably the most likely that any home could have. Every home in Utah should be tested for radon. One of the things that I found that I was kind of surprised with was that there's not a lot of education out there for real estate agents regarding radon. The Salt Lake Board just had their CE class about radon. I think it was yesterday, but it doesn't look like they offer that class very frequently. Did anybody go to that? Has anybody ever been to it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Eleanor Diver with the Utah Department of Environmental Quality teaches that class. I'm sure it's probably a pretty good class. So if you ever see that class come up, definitely would probably be one of your better resources for getting more informed on radon.
Are we supposed to sign something for this class?
No, this class is not CE credit.
Okay.
No. So every home should be tested. Every building that sits on the ground should be tested for radon. The exception, it would be apartments and condos that are on the second floor and above. We don't really see radon issues in those. Well, before we go to that slide, who can tell me what the EPA's action level for radon is?
4.0 or something like that.
Very good. 4.0. Do you want to stick with your prize, or do you want to double down and answer another question?
Oh my goodness gracious, I'll double down.
Okay, so what is the unit of measurement that radon is measured in?
Parts per.
For million.
That's pretty good. It's close. It's
Lost my prize.
picocuries per liter.
Wait, what is it?
It's called picocurie. It's named after Marie Curie, who was the scientist.
How do you spell that?
I did not know.
Pico,
Pico
Pico,
Curie, Curie.
CU what?
Curie.
Huh.
Can I ask a question about that? So when I've had inspectors test for radon, they'll like leave it in there for like 24 hours and then they give them reading. But in, like we bought one for my house, bought a little reader, and it changes. It fluctuates with the barometric pressure.
Yep.
Oh,
So
really?
it's gonna be a lot higher at some times than it is at other. So how is the 24-hour?
So actually, the standard radon test that we do for real estate transactions is 48 hours. So it needs to stay on the property for 2 days. And that gives us, that's just the shortest period of time that we can really get an accurate or somewhat accurate representation. You know, so we're trying to get a result in a relatively quick amount of time during a real estate transaction. And so that's what the experts came up with, was just like 48 hours is the minimum that we can do a test for that will give us an accurate enough number to base a decision off of. But
in my house, we've had like a week where it's like at 1.
right,
And then a couple weeks later, it'll be like at
Yeah.
7.
there's a lot of factors
Wow.
that radon fluctuates over time: atmospheric pressure, temperature, ground cover, lots of things will affect it. What I would pay more attention to when you're, I'm not sure if the monitor that you have gives you like the long-term average, but that's the number that you want to pay the most attention. Your
Yeah,
daily,
you look at like
Yeah.
graph.
your daily or your hourly numbers, I mean, those are kind of fun to see if you're interested in it, but what we're more concerned with, and that's what's great about the monitors, that if you buy one for your house, the longer the time that goes by, the more accurate that long-term number is gonna get. And so that's what we really like to have is like, if we can get a number over a year, that gives us a much better picture than obviously 2 days or a week or a month.
What was her answer? The second answer you said
Oh, the
parts per
It's hard to-
picocuries?
It's picocuries per liter.
Picocuries,
Yeah,
Yes, it's right up here. So this is the abbreviation for picocuries per liter. Right there.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
not
No,
the-
please,
not
please
the-
ask questions. I would way rather this be you guys getting your questions answered than me boring you with info.
Not to get hung up on the alarming part, but like, let's say there's a storm coming, barometric pressure is high, so it's 7.0. But like just during the high pressure part,
Mhm.
and then it kind of clears out, like probably a good thing that it like calms down.
Yeah, I mean, there's
So, like-
there's some stuff around testing and having like severe weather events, because that does affect a test. We don't want to do a test and have like the majority of it be over some kind of crazy storm that we're having. But the weather in Utah, like crazy weather is kind of normal here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I don't really ever
Bipolar.
throw a test out because we had some kind of, weather event, unless we just get some just bizarre result and I'm, not comfortable with it. But I've never had an instance where I thought that the weather was really gonna have that big of an impact. If you have high radon, and if you already have high radon, like the weather event is just gonna, like low pressure is just gonna make it higher, but it's usually not gonna really smooth the test that much to where we would be mitigating when we really didn't need to.
Right, that makes sense. So to your company,
Mhm.
what do you guys do? Leave a test for 48 hours?
Yes.
That's nice.
Yeah, and I'll answer some more questions about kind of like our services and what we charge for radon testing and that kind of stuff at the end.
And what about hers if it goes clear up to 7? Is she supposed to be alerted, alarmed?
No, because like if that's just for like the hour, that 7, if it drops back down to like a 0 or a 0.5 or something like that for the rest of the day, then that 7 gets averaged out and you're
Oh,
still
okay.
pretty low.
So if it's 7 for more than, if it's over 4 for more than 24 hours, is that the?
We take the average number. So the machine that I use, it takes a reading every half hour, I believe, over 48 hours, and then it averages that number out.
Okay.
So at 4 picocuries or higher, the EPA strongly recommends mitigation. That's the number that most real estate agents have come to know is like, over 4, you need to mitigate, below 4, you're good. However, from 2 to 4 or 3.9, it's acceptable, but mitigation is still worth considering, especially for long-term health. And I'll show you why in the next slide. Generally below a 2, you're good. You don't really need to mitigate something that's below a 2. So this is, it actually looks better than I thought it did. So at a 2, the equivalent is like smoking 4 cigarettes a day or receiving 100 x-rays a year. Most hospitals only allow you to have like 3 or 4 chest x-rays a year. So you can see why even at a 2, like my previous house, I didn't mitigate it. When we bought it, it was like a 2.3 and our inspector told us that it was fine. And then once I became a home inspector and started doing this and I started seeing this information, I was just like, wow, I would have, if it was me, I would have mitigated at a 2. I don't need to smoke 4 cigarettes a day, especially in Utah with all the other air quality issues that we already have in the wintertime. And then this just compounding that, at a 4, we jump up to 8 cigarettes a day or 200 x-rays a year. And then, at a 10, I've had readings on like up in Park City on radon tests, I think probably as high as like 18-ish. And that's the average.
And they're alive?
Yeah, yeah. It's not something that's, radon's not like, it's a tasteless, odorless gas. But it's not something that's going to, kill you quickly, like, carbon monoxide or something like that. This is a long-term exposure that can lead to, radon-induced lung cancer.
Where's the highest rate of radon in Utah?
I wish I would have put that slide in, but if you go to actually the next screen, so let's just talk about this really quick. If a test comes back high, a lot of people will freak out about it, but it's not really something that you really need to freak out about. Mitigation systems aren't that expensive when you talk about, all of the things, in terms of buying a home, an $800 to $1,500 an expense for something that affects your health, I think is pretty affordable. And they operate quietly, and the mitigation systems, you don't really see them. You'll see them on the outside of the house sometimes, but most of the time they go up through your roof and you don't even really see it on the outside of the house. And then once they're installed, we should always retest to confirm safe levels. And that's one of the reasons why I recommend even homes that have been mitigated in a transaction, we should still do a radon test and make sure that the radon mitigation system is functioning and hasn't stopped working. So if you go to the Utah Radon Program's website, I know this is a really long URL, but if you just Google Utah Radon Program and make sure you're going to the one that ends in .gov, that's the best resource that I've come across for all information regarding radon and radon mitigation in Utah. They have a map on there where you can see, and going back to your question, they have a map on there where you can see kind of the average level of radon per region in Utah. This area right here, the average level, when they do what they call a soil gas test, so that's when engineers go out and they take core samples of the earth and send it back to a lab and analyze it. The average level in the ground here is a 4. So that's why we test for it. Mountainous regions, radon is more prevalent, and that's why we need to do the testing for it. Any questions about radon? So these are all of the systems that we inspect, systems and components that we inspect in a home inspection. We're not going to talk about all of these. We're just going to talk about, a couple sections really quick, but I like this slide because it shows us everything that we're inspecting. I inspect a home in this order. It's good to have a methodical approach with every inspection, but this is one of the reasons why I think it's a good idea for you guys to be adamant that your clients and your buyers attend the home inspection. I don't mean that they come for the whole home inspection, but if they come at the end for a review, it's much better to get their questions answered. We can go through every one of these systems and everything that we found during the inspection with them in person and get their questions answered. And then we're not, you're not having any panicked 3 a.m. phone calls from your client because they're now just looking at the report and they're going, like, oh my God, my house has this, and what do I do? Today we're just going to talk about electrical and plumbing. Electrical and plumbing is really and what I like to call the meat and potatoes of a home. There's a lot of systems and components, other systems and components that are all tied into, they either use electricity or they use water or they use both. Okay, so before I go to that next slide, I've got another quiz question. Who can tell me what type of wiring this is? It is copper, so that's the first correct answer. But what, anybody know what what we call it? The radio is? No, so this is called non-metallic sheath wire. It's the type of wiring that you want to have.
Non-metallic, I think it's non-metallic sheath wire.
Yes. It's the type of wiring that you want to have in your house. I'll pass that around so you guys can see it. This is the sheathing. So the sheathing is non-metallic, it's plastic.
Yellow's my favorite color, so that's good.
And then we have our hot, our neutral, and our ground conductors inside of it there. But this is modern wiring, is what you want to have in your house. Pass that around, as opposed to braided cloth wiring. So non-metallic sheath wiring, 1970s to present. Not really any issues with it. It's the type of wiring you want to have in your house, modern electrical wiring. It's changed, obviously, you know, the wiring we have now is probably a little bit better and a little bit better materials than what was being produced in the 1970s, but still a house from the 1970s with that type of wiring, really not going to have any issues. Braided cloth wiring, however, 1950s and 1960s is sheathed in cloth.
You're kidding.
And then I'm not gonna pass this one around because there's a number of issues with this. One of it being it contains or can contain asbestos.
Oh.
And so I don't want you guys handling it, but as you can see, you know, we've got the cloth sheathing, we've got paper insulation in there. That one's got a little bit of paper in it. That's one of the things they're not really using the paper now. So that's an older non-metallic sheath sample. But this kind, it's got a lot of brittle paper in there. And
Asbestos cloth for wire.
yeah, and it only has,
Well, it's because it's it's considered fire retardant.
yeah, it was the best thing they had at the time is an insulating material, and plastic wasn't around yet, so.
Thank goodness we weren't born.
This type of wiring only has two conductors. It doesn't it lacks the ground conductor as well, which is a safety modification that non-metallic sheath wiring has.
And
That
this
helps
copper
make
is the grounded,
the bare copper wire is the grounded conductor.
and then what are these?
The black one is your hot wire and the white one is your neutral.
Oh.
So electricity, without going into, all the science of electricity is always, going in a circle. So it comes to your house, goes to your appliances, and then it goes back to its source. And that's where it travels through the neutral conductor when it goes back to the transformer or wherever it came from.
And this in case there's an issue, this copper to grounded?
A grounding conductor is where electrical systems send excess electricity. So anytime an appliance or something starts drawing more than it should, your circuit breaker in your panel will trip. That's what causes one of your circuit breakers to trip, or your GFCI plug to trip. And then that excess electricity goes into the ground through the grounded conductor. And then we have knob and tube. That's really old wiring. We don't really see that. I mean, I have seen it on an inspection before. It's uncommon. Most of the time when I see it, it's just kind of in the attic and it's no longer in use and it's just been left
Do you
there.
have a sample?
I don't have a sample of knob and tube. It's knob and tube is essentially just the bare wire, so the copper wire dipped in tar. And then I do have a sample of, so this is the knob. And so this would get some nail in there. That will get nailed into your framing up in your attic or in your crawl space, and then the wire that's been dipped in tar goes in between those two. So that's what would hold the wire in place and insulate it. And barns and like really old houses might still have that. But I mean, if you have knob and tube wiring still in use, it should definitely absolutely be replaced immediately.
Wow. Wow.
Even this type of the braided cloth wiring, we'll talk about on this next slide. So cloth wiring, one of the biggest concerns about it is its inability to handle the electrical demands of modern homes. We're constantly plugging more and more things in. cell phones, tablets, computers, you know, games, all kinds of stuff. And even though most of the stuff that we're plugging in is using less and less electricity because it's getting more and more efficient,
Right.
we're still constantly adding to the list of things that we're plugging in. Electric cars, you know, all kinds of stuff that are being included in modern homes. And so this type of wiring heats up, and the insulation isn't as good as the plastic at keeping that heat from going out into the surrounding materials. And so like I've been in attics where I've seen this type of wiring and I've seen insulation next to it that's charred from those wires heating up and almost causing the insulation to start on fire. That's it's a clear sign of a near miss. I don't know what happened. I hope the client, you know, chose to get it replaced. But that's the concern with this type of wiring. And that's something, you know, the comment, some home inspectors' comments are probably a little bit scarier to read than others regarding cloth wiring. I think mine just says, you know, the braided cloth wiring was observed and that this type of wiring is an older, outdated type of wiring, and you should consult, you know, with an electrician, because there's situations where it might be okay, you know, if it was just one circuit that doesn't really have the potential to be used for a lot of things getting plugged into it, and it's still there on an older home. By the way, most of this stuff kind of centers around older houses. The stuff that we're talking about today, cloth wiring, we're going to talk about some plumbing issues. We sell and inspect a lot of older houses. My last 3 inspections, the last inspection that I did, the home was built in 1919. And then the one before that was like in the 70s, I think, but the one before that was another like early 1900s home. A lot of houses in kind of like the more metro area of Salt Lake are going to be in that category. And what we see a lot of the times, you know, with house flippers is they flip the home and they make it look great. It looks amazing cosmetically. I've been in a few where I've got in there. I'm just like, wow, this is really, really nice. They did a really good job with this. I could live here. And then I get in the crawl space and I get in the attic and I go, oh, maybe not. And so when we find out, you know, that that house that I just inspected last week, 1919, had all of this type of wiring. I don't think there was a single circuit that had been updated to modern wiring. And when you start to see all the circuits are this type of wiring, then it's more of a concern because everything is operating on this type of wiring.
Would you know the cost for, I would say, remediation to be able to change out that cloth wiring?
So I've seen advertisements from companies that do just, that's what they specialize in. They just do whole house rewires. They come in, they rip out all your old electrical and they replace it. And they'll advertise, I see your whole house for $3,500. The thing that they're not telling you is they're going to cut a whole bunch of holes in your drywall and they're not going to fix those. You're going to have to then call a drywall company to come patch all the holes that they cut everywhere. But it's not terrible. We start to get into this next slide here. Usually when we have cloth braided sheath wiring, we also have outdated electrical panels as well. This is a Bulldog panel. This is a Zinsco, and this one's Federal Pacific Electric. All 3 of these brands of electrical panels should be replaced if they're in the house. They have more serious issues than the wiring, because these panels all have histories of breakers not tripping when they're supposed to, causing people to get electrocuted, arc flashing where an arc flash will occur inside of the panel. That's when something's not grounded properly or a wire is loose and it comes in contact with something that it shouldn't.
It's Federal Pacific what?
Federal Pacific Electric.
So would you say when you see these typical breakers, you would come to mind that you would have that type of, let's say, cloth sheet wire maybe around the house because,
Yeah, so I mean, there's only I mean, it kind of depends on the panel. These panels, I don't ever open up because these are the ones that are known more for arc flashing, so it's dangerous for me on inspection to open those up. So when I see those, I just note them and just say, consult with an electrician because I don't want to risk, taking the panel cover off. The other ones, depending on how they look, I will open them up and look at them, and then I'll be able to see on the inside. This is where I'll be able to see, this one doesn't have any cloth braided sheet wiring. All of those conductors that are connected to the breakers are all insulated with plastic. So that's good that at least it doesn't have that older braided cloth wiring. But an electrician would almost 99% of the time, when you consult with an electrician on any of these panels, they're going to recommend replacement. So it's good to have a list of contractors so when these types of things come up and you need to get some further evaluation, you've got somebody that you can call, take them out to lunch, kind of get them on your you get on their favorite list so that they're willing to come kind of do these checks on short notice for you. Plumbing. Before we go, I got another quiz question. You guys just saw the answer.
Hex and copper. One of them's gotta be right.
Okay, I got one.
Right.
Yeah, so which type of plumbing, water distribution piping plumbing do you want to have in your house? Was that? No.
No.
Hex. I think you had the best answer for the other one, the copper wire. Yes, PEX piping. So we have some samples of PEX. This is PEX. Obviously we've got, blue is cold, red is hot, white can be either, but it's usually a return line of like water coming back to like a water heater or something like that.
What's that system they had when all the text goes into like?
But that's all manifold. Man, there you go. Okay. So those are really nice.
Paid attention to what about now.
You did.
That's really nice. A manifold is essentially a circuit breaker for a water system. So a manifold allows you to turn off each, like the upstairs bathroom. You can just go turn off the water in just that room through a manifold. So pass these around. So PEX was introduced in the 1990s. It wasn't the first type of plastic piping. And I don't have it on my slide, but polybutylene. Has anybody ever come across polybutylene on an inspection before?
Yeah.
We have a lot of it in Utah. It was the first type of plastic piping. It's gray like this. Very easily distinguishable because it's always this gray color. And you can almost always read the brand. The company was called Vanguard. That made it. But what happened with this type of piping is when they started introducing chemicals to the water supply, it did not play nice with those chemicals. When we started introducing chlorine and fluoride, they caused it to break down prematurely, and it would leak. And a lot of people, it was widespread. A lot of people have problems with it, and there's big class action lawsuit that pretty much caused them to stop making this. But in turn, that's what may cause them to develop PEX. That's the samples.
How do you spell polybutylene?
POLYBUTYLENE.
I want to share something with you. We live in Florida. Our house got struck by lightning. And it put pinholes in our copper plumbing.
Yep.
So we had to have polybutylene outside our house going down the house.
Yeah.
Because it was a slab. Of course,
Yes.
there's no basements in Florida. But I know a little bit about this.
Yeah. So my parents' house has had polybutylene. My parents' house is 43 years old. Still has polybutylene water distribution piping. I think in 43 years, they've had maybe 2 leaks, so it's not as big of a deal as they make it out to be,
Yeah,
but, it's known to leak, so it's kind of one of those things where, it always happens, you're like on vacation or something, and then you get a leak, and then then you've got, it's not just a leak, it's, tens of thousands of dollars in the damage that the leak caused.
so you come back from vacation, for tens of thousands, oh, wow.
Will the home warranties cover it still?
I don't think so.
I know IBEX won't, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, it probably varies from warranty to warranty, but, I think more and more of them are starting to exclude a lot of these types of materials.
Hmm.
And then we have copper. I have a sample of copper just for kind of show and tell. Copper is still used today. If I were building a house and I could afford it, I would plumb my whole house in copper. I think, I mean, there's pros and cons to it, but it's, with all the stuff surrounding plastics and microplastics, I just think it's a better material to have
What's
the
the
water.
cons?
What's that?
What's the cons, the expense?
The expense, yes.
All the high-end homes are going copper.
Yeah, I've inspected a few, like houses up in Park City where, yeah, their whole houses, they're not using PEX, everything's plumbed in copper. And it's really nice.
What's the positive?
What's that?
The positive, the pros?
The pros is, your water's not flowing through plastic. And so with all the stuff about microplastics in water and your drinking water and all that kind of stuff, it's just
Right.
one less thing that you have to worry about your water. Picking up more microplastics in. However, the other side of that, the water still travels to your house from the municipality in plastic piping.
Right.
So, I mean, that's, it's a marginal difference, to have your house being plumbed in copper for that reason. But, here's an example of polybutylene piping. This would be more of a distribution line, larger size distribution line, coming in.
To distribute to your copper piping in your house.
Right.
It's still coming through the.
It still comes, most municipality water lines are plastic.
Oh. Huh.
You'll notice the copper's got this nice, patina on it. That's not corrosion, that's just, I mean, it is corrosion, but it's not a bad type of corrosion. A lot of people will see that and go, oh, it's corrosion, but that's just a normal copper, the Statue of Liberty is all green. That's what happens as it oxidizes.
So wait, Statue of Liberty is copper?
The Statue of Liberty is copper. When France originally delivered it, it looked like that color.
Ah.
It was a lot shinier.
I kind of agree.
I like her at copper.
This slide
That would
kind of got
stand
messed
out
up.
so well on the harbor.
Galvanized is the type of piping that we don't want to have. Sorry, the slide got kind of jumbled up, but it was prevalent in homes built before 1960. It's uncommon, but it was still in use as late as 1990. But galvanized piping is just a steel piping that's coated in a zinc material to prevent it from rusting. This is what we see a lot in older homes as your water distribution piping. And as you can see, as it rusts from the inside out. So you have stuff, this is what your drinking water is passing over if you have an old house with galvanized pipe.
Oh, good. Holy night. You're gonna scare us to death.
So galvanized is one of those things where I would definitely say, if it's present in a home's water distribution piping, it should definitely be replaced. I mean, it still works, still does its job, but
Yeah, do you have any anti-dry gloves? It'd be nice just to carry them around.
drain lines. So this is like your water that your pipes that your water and sewage is draining from your house in. We have cast iron. I won't pass this around, but this is a big piece of cast iron piping. It's the most common type of drain piping in older homes. And this one's a piece that's never been used in you know, it was never in a house. It's just, it was just, I bought it off eBay from somebody that sells, you know, vintage pipe, but. It would look similar to, the inside of it would look similar
That's
to
awesome.
this one, where we get a lot of corrosion buildup on the inside, and it becomes more of a concern, because, you know, when you have this in your water distribution piping, it might reduce the pressure, your water pressure a little bit, but water's still gonna flow through it, and you're still gonna have running water. Whereas when this corrodes on the inside, it's gonna impede your drainage, so you're gonna get more and more likely to have sewage backups, and plumbing backups when you have cast iron
Can you
pipe.
see that?
Yeah.
Can you pass it around?
Yeah. It's kind of.
What does ABS stand for?
Ooh. It's a
And-
big, long.
And PVC?
PVC is,
Acrylonitrile butane.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Styrene.
We're back in organic chemistry. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's good, that's fine.
ABS is acrylonitrile
Acrylonitrile
butadiene styrene.
butadiene.
Yeah. So I just stick with the ABS.
Well,
Um,
what is PVC? Oh, holy cow.
PVC is essentially polyethylene.
Polyethylene.
PVC is polyvinyl chloride. That's an easier one.
Polyvinyl chloride. I'm gonna sound so smart.
Another problem that we have with cast iron is where it rusts from the inside out, and it also will rust on the outside. When we're doing inspections, we can't really see spots where it's cracked, because those spots will get filled in with corrosion. And so usually, you know, it can be, cast iron can be descaled mechanically, or they stick a roto rooter in there and they grind off all of the scale. But that's kind of like, you know, more or less putting a Band-Aid on a problem that should just be, you're gonna go through the expense of doing that, you should.
You mean the scales like the crud, the corrosion?
The
that
corrosion that builds
builds
up on the inside, yeah.
okay.
So we got ABS and PVC. That's the type of drain line you want to have in your house. This is a piece of ABS. The ABS is black. I'll show you. This is a photo of what the inside, when we're doing a sewer scope, this is what the inside of an ABS drain line looks like. It's nice and clean, no buildup, water and sewage can flow freely through it. And then here's a photo of the inside of a cast iron drain line. And, you know, this is the actual diameter of the pipe, but then we have, you know, you can see it's corroded, and now water has to pass through a much smaller drainage path.
Thanks for these samples. That really helps.
Yeah, it's kind of a, you know, show and tell
Well, I'm a
style
test
class,
pilot.
but
What we're talking about.
any questions about any of the materials or anything, or?
How do you have PVC pipes?
I don't have a piece of PVC pipe, but it's very similar. It's almost identical to ABS, only it's gonna be white. There's not really a big difference between the two. Depends on the region. Here in Utah, we use more ABS than we do PVC. We see PVC fairly
Is
frequently.
it more durable?
Not really. There's regions like, you know, on the East Coast, it's very mostly all PVC.